For those of you who saw the community post, you knew this was inevitable. But for those of you who didn't, welcome to the third Iceberg, where it talks about some things on this YouTube channel. I should really word that differently. Anyways, no long intros, we're just gonna get right into it. So enjoy. Interview with Unknowingly. For those of you who don't know who Unknowingly is, he is a uprising analog horror creator who is famous for his one continuous project, The Man in the Suit. He started this channel back in August of 2023, and I got a chance to interview him in December when his channel was still growing. This was before MatPat did an entire film theorist video on his project. The interview was pretty long, and we really got the interview stuff done within the first 10 minutes, but it was overall funny. Fetch was there as well, so he was kind of bringing up some of his projects he was doing. I brought up my Godzilla Fallout Extinction project, and he actually voiced a character for part 3. We'll get to that later on. Most popular video is a YouTube short. My most popular video on my 2 channels for the last few years was this little stop-motion test with one of my Lego dinosaur creators that I called Godzilla. And I was not really a fan of this because this was the days when I first started stop-motion. But then it came down to last year when I posted a YouTube short pointing out a small detail in the YouTube SFM Emesis Blue. As I'm speaking right now, the short currently has 953,000 views, and is expected to hit 1 million by the end of this month. So I'm gonna say now, thank you all for the support. I never thought that I'd reach 1 million views, and I'm about to, so yeah, share that video with your friends, maybe even a stranger, and well yeah, get me to 1 million views. Meeting royalty. If you saw the YouTube short, you'd know that I met the Queen of Uganda. I was at a charity soccer event for the media team that I volunteered for, and basically the Queen of the country Uganda was there as a fundraiser for them to build 3 new schools in the small African country. After the game, I approached her and her family, and I got to have a picture with her. The Princess of Uganda, who's about my age, pointed out that I was the cameraman, because when I approached the Queen, she kind of looked at me like, who the hell are you? And it was a funny, awkward confrontation, but you know, I got the picture. I got proof that I met royalty, so long story short. The Ghosts of the Grand Bell Manor. I've been waiting to start this movie for the last 2 years. Basically, a long time ago, I was writing this novel that I sort of based off a couple paranormal shows I saw on like the Discovery Channel, Paranormal Lockdown, and most notably, The Ghost Adventures. There wasn't an entire concrete story down, but when I started deciding to make this into a Lego movie, I started talking with my dad on, okay, how can we make this story and what should it be about, because I want it to be like a curse on the house. So then we came up with the story that is still in production. The script is finished, 10 minutes of the film is done so far, and about maybe 20 minutes of lines are done currently. So, yeah, that film's in production, and, well, let's just see how it plays out. Release of Steamboat Willie. For those of you who have caught up with the news, you'll know that Walt Disney's iconic short, that was the debut of Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie, officially entered the public domain on New Year's Day of this year. As a test, I uploaded it early and scheduled it for it to release at midnight in my time zone to see if Disney would catch on to it. And at first they actually blocked the short because it was uploaded before midnight, but once it was public after midnight, they didn't block the video anymore. So yeah, if you want to watch Steamboat Willie on my channel, there's a 240p version of it, which is not the best quality, but hey, it's on the channel. So yeah, public domain, everybody. Hunter's Second Fantasy. A sequel to the first Hunter's Fantasy, this is another continuous project where I have a couple of other animated shorts in mind. Two of them are done so far, and also I've remastered the Lego Apprentice, but basically this is supposed to be longer than the first Hunter's Fantasy with much different music scores, and yeah. I'm not sure when I'm going to be finished with this because I've still got all these other stop motion movies to make, so I'm just going to keep that on the side of the table for now, but yeah, I'm making another one. Location of podcast opening. You know this iconic picture. It shows up at the beginning of every Hunter's Real World podcast episode. Some of you might be wondering where exactly is that photo taking that? Well, let me explain. The photo is taken right beside the Siamese Twins Formation in the Garden of the Gods National Park in Manitou Springs / Colorado Springs. In, well, Colorado. About maybe 20 to 50 feet to the left of the formation from where you're seeing the facade of it, you will see like a small little crevice where you've got a perfect view of Pikes Peak in the background. And that is where the famous photo is taken. Recently, I went on a trip to Colorado mainly to ride the cog rail up Pikes Peak, but while I was there, I decided to check out that original spot and record a new intro and outro for Season 3, which you will see coming up. Guest voices in Godzilla Fallout Extinction Part 3. This one speaks for itself. I like to beat my own records on my channel, and lately I've noticed that half of the films that I've made have only starred me as a voice. So in recent films, I've been asking some of my collaborators if they wanted to do voices for it, and even got a couple subscribers and a couple random people from Discord, which I won't do that part again, because they're not really the best voice actors. But in Godzilla Fallout Extinction Part 3, Super Tristan Sitchy, Fetch Entertainment, That One Researcher, Zombie Shark, 2 other people from Discord, and Unknowingly voice some characters in the movie. And also my dad, who voices the president, but you know, he's gonna be in a lot of projects since, you know, I have easy access to him. Some of you are wondering, why doesn't my mom do voices for this? She doesn't want to do voices. And you know what, that's okay. She doesn't like hearing her voice on recording because she thinks her voice is too deep, but that's okay. She's there for motivational support on these films, so go mom. Unknowingly voices a character. I mentioned this a few times already in this video, so now I'm going to explain it for you. Unknowingly got to voice one small character in Part 3, and it only lasts for about 10 seconds. In the scene where Godzilla attacks the DFW Metroplex, there's one part where an FBI agent is talking on a radio to the Secretary of Defense saying that they're still tracking Godzilla and are jamming the signals so no news can get out to the public. There's a funny part right here. When he sent me the video of his recorded lines, the video that he sent me was in a format, kind of the same format as his analog horror videos, fit with the small white text in the screen, but no VHS effect. But I kind of freaked out about that because that's a digital autograph for me, because he took the time to edit this small little video with the text on the screen just for a 10-minute part that I animated a Lego character for. But yeah, I plan on having him voice another character in the future if he's up for it, so we'll just have to wait and see. Buckeye Gal, Among Us. Please, for the love of God, don't cringe with this. I mean, it is a bit cringy, but I'm just gonna explain it anyway. Back in late 2023, Tyler decided, let's just play Among Us just like the old days, and I'm like, yeah, sure. So I decided to record this. I no longer have the game installed, but Tyler and I, we played a session of Among Us, and at one point in the middle of one of the videos, the same person kept joining our empty lobby, and they kept leaving. They kept joining and they kept leaving. I like to imagine that this person was a fan, and that they just kept joining and leaving, or it was like some sort of like ghost or something, but I don't know why I included this in the Iceberg anyway, but yeah, somebody just kept joining and leaving our lobby, and part of me just found that a bit sinister, but you know how people are when they join lobbies. They're just like, oops, god dang it, this is the same lobby again. So yeah, don't mind why I included this, I just thought I'd make it a little sinister. What happened in 1954 colorized? That speaks for itself. I was looking through the storage of my stop-motion studio recently and noticed that I still had the stop-motion segments of the Lego characters from the original What Happened in 1954. I only colorized part 1 because I did not want to do part 2, because I know there are still people out there demanding me to make a part 3. I am never going to make a part 3. Not only was this short finally in color, I also added a couple sound effects, especially at the very end, with a very haunting sound effect that I will not play for you because, I don't know, I don't want people clicking off this video saying it's too scary. Also, I just don't want to play it, okay? There's still a bit mixed reviews on it whether the short is better off in no color, or if it's better in color. You be the judge of that. The emotional podcast episode. Sorry, I've got a piece of paper right here, and I know that Iceberg got edited, it's worded differently, but mine on the paper says the emotional podcast episode. So, a few weeks ago, I was over at my grandpa and grandma's house, and I had this podcast episode planned with my grandpa. Because my grandpa was an aviator and flew a couple jets back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. One of the best jets that he ever flew was the Gulfstream jets, which are still flown by billionaires today like Taylor Swift, the Kardashians, and Elon Musk. But back then, my grandpa flew a Gulfstream, so I decided to do an entire podcast episode about how he became an aviator, what it was like to be an aviator, and sort of how he steered away from that. This is where the emotional part comes in. I was talking with my dad one night. I was going to have a conversation with him, mainly about like writing the script for the movie and recording a few lines, and I noticed that he was watching the podcast episode, and he was crying. I have never seen my dad cry before. He told me that all the stories that he's heard in the podcast episode were stories that he's heard off and on throughout his childhood, but he's never heard them all at the same time, and that's what made it emotional for him. Not only that, but my grandmother, who was also there when we recorded the episode, she's battling dementia right now, and mainly we were there to support her, see how she's doing, but I was also there to record the podcast episode, which my grandpa wrote stuff down for a few days, obviously practiced it, and you can just see in the video, he's got the most clear mind about it, and I'm just very blessed about it, but I fear for what my grandpa's going through, knowing that the love of his life is just confused, paranoid. It's just hard on them right now. Yeah. But anyways, moving on to the next layer. I'm sorry. Blocked comments. I'm a nice person, you know, I'm very lenient when people are doing voice lines for my films, and also I'm pretty lenient for when people say a couple toxic things about me in the comments, but there have been times where I've blocked some commenters. Either one of them nearly doxed me, or some of them I just couldn't stand. Tristan, one of my collaborators, he was blocked for a while because I thought he was annoying, and then I decided to unblock him, and he's been pretty lenient in the comments recently. A couple of the other commenters that I blocked have mainly been people I've run into at school. People who constantly try and find me, or not constantly try and find me, people who approach me when they get the chance and ask me about myself and about my channel, and I don't want to really talk about that because it's in school, and I don't want my social life in school to be just where people mainly know me as, oh, you're the World of Hunter. I want people to know me for who I am, not just for being an amateur gamer slash stop motion artist. I just want people to know me for who I am. So some of these people I've blocked because I don't want to answer their questions. So if you are watching this video, I'm really sorry, but I just don't want to talk to you about that. Political Realism in Godzilla Fallout Extinction Part 3. Man, I really need to make these shorter. Okay, so I also made an entire video about this. In the third part of this movie, there is some political realism in it. And I'm not the one who wrote it. My dad watches the news a lot, and he knows quite a bit about politics, even though he's not a part of it, and he's given me tips on how I should write the script for his character, the president, and what he should be saying. There's also a bunch of other elements in that part that are politically realistic, but you should check out that video to learn more about that. Requiem 2 segment. This is one of the 2 completed segments that I have for Hunter's Second Fantasy, and it's a very interesting one. It's one of the latest pieces of classical music that has ever been composed, which it's not really in the classical era, but it's a pretty modern piece of orchestrated music. It was composed by György Ligeti, and it's a piece of music that some of you might recognize from the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is basically what my entire segment's referring to. Somebody is on the spacecraft, looks a lot like the Discovery 1, who finds this monolithic structure orbiting around Jupiter and its moons, and decides to go and investigate. Now, György Ligeti is a very unique composer, and some of you might get a little uneasy with listening to this music, but when you listen to it enough times, you start to understand the art to it. But anyways, if you want to check out that segment, it's the Requiem 2 segment for Hunter's Second Fantasy completed, so you might want to check that out. Lucy cameo in the case of the missing shark statue. At the very beginning of Part 2, after Yellow is launched off the back of the train and is flying through the air, there's one shot where the train goes by my dog. Now, when I was doing the stop motion for this part, my dog just so happened to be laying by the front door, and I didn't want to move her, but also I was kind of just like, alright, gonna have my dog be a cameo in this movie. And yes, it is quirky because it is stop motion, but hey, we got that cute little shot anyway with my dog. And the thing is, a few seconds later, she disappears. When they're riding the bike out the front door, my dog is gone, so yeah. That's how stop motion works. So, I just thought I'd point that out. Phantom mark on animated hand. This one I find sinister. In the Symphony No. 5 segment that I have for Hunter's Fantasy, towards the end of it there's a rotoscope of my hand conducting the music. It took me about 2 weeks to animate that throughout a lot of free time in school, but after I was done with it, I noticed one little detail in that animation. And also while I was animating it. There's a small mark on my hand that I notice only appears in a video that I shot it. Because, you know, rotoscope, you're basically animating over actual footage of something. In the footage, there's a small mark just before the crease between my thumb and my index finger. While I was animating that, I look at my right hand, and you can even see it on me today, that mark is not there. And I don't even remember if that was just a piece of food on me or like a little scab or something, but that mark isn't there. It only shows up in that rotoscoped video and the animation. Because why would that mark be there if I seen it in the video? I saw it in the video, so yeah, that mark should be there. But it's not actually on my hand. So I was kind of a little confused about that. So yeah, now it's in an Iceberg entry, so you be the judge of that. Was it a phantom mark, or was I just misremembering something? Apparently I don't know the back of my hand like the back of my hand. Reanimated Chernobog in Hunter's Second Fantasy opening. This one also speaks for itself. If you look at one video, which is a test shot of the opening of Hunter's Second Fantasy, you'll notice that there's a callback to the Chernobog animation I did for the first Hunter's Fantasy. That is entirely reanimated. I decided to redo that entire animation to make it more smooth, and it's only referenced in Hunter's Second Fantasy. I did actually make an unlisted video to where I showed the entire animation, and it looks so much more smooth than the first time I did it, as you can see a comparison here. The Goatman sound at the beginning of Ending 3. At the very beginning of LEGO Do You Copy Ending 3, there's a sound effect that the Goatman makes before he kills my character, and it's sort of a growling sound. That was my dog making that noise. Back when I was making this, my dog, we would sometimes give her toys to play with, and my dog is very overprotective with those toys. And so I thought I'd get the perfect sound effect by making it look like I was about to take her toy away, like grab it from her. She always growls at us when we try and take her toys, so as I was trying to take it, she started growling, so perfect opportunity for me to record that sound effect. So, yeah, my dog is an uncredited voice actor in LEGO Do You Copy. LEGO Fantastic Voyage Surviving Footage. For those of you who are veterans to my channel and have seen it for a while, you'll know that back in 2020, I made basically an entire LEGO version of the 1966 sci-fi film. After finishing the full movie, all of those videos got blocked because I was using music from the actual movie, which is now technically owned by Disney. And because nobody would watch them anyways, I decided to delete those videos. But I made a 2021 rewind, and there were a couple of clips from LEGO Fantastic Voyage that I included in the rewind to give like a fake reward to the best special effects for my movies. There are 2 shots from that movie there, along with sound effects. The third piece of surviving footage comes from one of my recent videos, World of Hunter Out of Context, which uses footage from an older Out of Context video I made a few years ago, which shows Dr. Michaels' death later in the film. But overall, those are the only 3 pieces of surviving footage from that movie I made. To kind of give you an idea how I sort of made that, what backgrounds I used for it, it's pretty interesting. Oh boy, why'd I include this on the iceberg list? Innuendo in Hunter's Fantasy. By innuendo, I mean, oh god. I don't want to go into explicit details, but when I came up with the name of my animated film, I did not for once think about what the implications of the name Hunter's Fantasy means. For those of you who are mature enough to get the joke, laugh at me all you want. For those of you who are young and don't get the joke, I'm so sorry for you. Basically, summing it up as clean as I can, couples, they usually have a romantic fantasy to do something. I am not in any kind of relationship, and I don't have a fantasy. So laugh at me all you want. I'm the idiot who came up with the title of that. Just laugh. But now you know, there's an innuendo in the title, and unfortunately I'm not going to change it because I think it's funny myself. But anyways, that's it with this iceberg video. This might be the last one, unless a bunch of other things come up and there's a lot more in-depth stuff with the channel that you don't know about, or I don't know about. So yeah, as for now, this is the final iceberg video. Thank the Lord. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed listening to this, and hopefully I didn't scar anybody, or get too personal, or hold a grudge with anybody like I mentioned earlier. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.